Hello, this video is for BTEC Sport and Exercise Science, Unit 2, Functional Anatomy, Skeletal System in particular. So this is the second video linked to the anatomy of a bone. So D1 is the anatomy of a bone, and this one specifically looks at 6 bony landmarks that you need to know. So what are bony landmarks then? You can see this vertebra here, this is a single vertebra, and you can see that it's not just circular, it's actually lots of dips and bumps and sticky out bits of bone, and these all have different functions. So bony landmarks are bone markings that describe the shape of bones. Typically we're going to learn only 6, there are lots more. Some of them are projections, which are bumps, and some of them are depressions, which are like dips in the bone. So this is a projection, this is a dip in the bone. Sometimes, certainly medical professionals might feel your bones, and that means palpate when you feel for something, to see if they can identify lumps and bumps that shouldn't be there, or to try to feel specifically for where muscles attach to bone. Sometimes it's those attachments that can get really sore, so the physio might locate it and might massage those attachments. So we're going to learn about projections, which are areas of bone that project above the bone surface, so sort of stick out. The lumps, these are generally for connecting tissue. So we've got tendons, which is one type of connective tissue, connect muscles to bones. So our muscles are attached via tendon onto our bone. So there might be a muscle that attaches via a tendon onto this process, this projection. Also, ligaments will be attached at these bumps, and again there might be ligaments attached to these projections. What we want is for the bumps to be strong enough to cope with the forces applied to them. So projections are bumps or raised bits of bones on bones. We will also learn about a couple of depressions, which are dips in the bone. This facet is a dip. It's not one of the ones we need to learn. We don't need to learn a facet, but it just shows a dip, a depression in the bone, or a hollow in the bone. And these are landmarks that are hollows that often form joints. So you get a dip in one bone and a projection of a different bone, and quite often they form joints, but also those hollows or channels could be where nerves or blood vessels run through, and they're protective. Here's some examples. So this is the radius and ulna of your forearm, and what you can see labelled here are lots of names of bumps and dips. So a notch is a dip, depression. This is a notch. This is actually, you can see the notch here. So the humerus of this would be the elbow joint, and the humerus, the bottom of the humerus, would sit in that trough. So the bottom of the humerus is a cylinder shape condyle, bump, and this is a hollow in the ulna. This is a notch. This process, sticking out bits here, both are called processes, they're projections. This thing here is a raised bump. This is a tuberosity. What else we got? We've got another process down here. We've got the ulnar notch. So you can see the olecranon. This is the process, the sticky out bit. This is the femur. Sorry, I lie. This is the tibia and fibula. So your lower leg below the knee joint. The knee joint would be here. This is the main bone, the tibia. This is the smaller bone, the fibula. And again, you can see we've got a large round bump called a condyle. Here's another condyle. This tibial tuberosity is just below your knee on your tibia, and that's what your quadriceps attach to. So it's a raised bump which connective tissue attaches to. Again, another condyle over here. So just some examples of bumps and dips that we're going to learn about. The way you're going to learn the ones you've got to learn, so you've got to learn these 6, what a process is, what a tuberosity, a border, a condyle, a fossa, and a notch is. The red ones are projections, they're the raised bumps, and the green ones are depressions, they're the dips in bones. We're going to learn it through the example of a ball and socket shoulder joint. This is the anatomically correct version. What you can see there, let's pick this one here, is a process. Coracoid process. Your bicep attaches to that. So the bicep on your upper arm attaches via a tendon to this process. That's my process. It's the same thing. We've got this condyle here. The head of your humerus, the ball part of your humerus, is a condyle, a large round projection. This is here. This is the condyle. Then we've got the socket, the fossa, the glenoid fossa. That's this. This is the glenoid fossa. So we're going to learn condyle fossa process. This V-shaped notch, so the scapular notch, has a nerve going through it. This notch has a nerve. That V-shaped depression is the notch you're going to learn. Then we've got, what haven't we done? A border. So the border is the edge, the raised edge of a bone. It's a raised bit of bone, which is the edge. This is the lateral edge. It's the edge that's towards the side. This is the medial edge. It's the edge towards the middle of your body. So we've got to learn border. And the last one we're going to learn is a tuberosity. So here is a raised bump called a tuberosity. And the deltoid, so the deltoid goes over your shoulder. The middle deltoid attaches to your humerus here at the tuberosity, or attaches to the tuberosity. And when the middle deltoid contracts, abduction happens and it pulls your humerus out to the side like a star jump. So we've got process, which is this bit here. We've got tuberosity, which is this raised bump here on my simple diagram. You're going to be learning to draw this, by the way. This is the tuberosity. We've got the raised edge of the bone, a border, medial border, lateral border. We've got a large round is the key word, round projection, condyle, that's here, that's the ball of the ball and socket joint. Then we go to the depressions, the fossa. So the socket of a ball and socket joint is a fossa, that's this bit here. And we've got a notch, which is a V-shaped depression, a notch, which is this one here. Okay, so I've managed to find one example which incorporates all the bony landmarks that you need to learn. Here's again a slightly different anatomical version of it you can have a look at just to orientate yourself. It shows all of those things there. Now, take your time, make understandable notes for the 6 bony landmarks. So a large projection or raised bump used to attach connective tissue, for example, ligaments and tendons. And I've given you some examples in blue. So the red bit is the factual detail about the structure and the function of them, and then the blue text are the examples. Work through these. Obviously, the red ones are the bumps, the projections, the green ones are the depressions, the dips. I've put the condyle and fossa in bold just because you need to learn them together. It's the ball and socket joint, okay? So learn them together. So just if it helps, I've put numbers to link to the anatomically correct diagram and of course my version of a scribbly diagram. And remember, it's these, you're going to be asked to sit down and draw this and label it and state what they do, okay? So you'll learn those 6 via this example. So here's an example of an exam question we've had for 2 marks. A tuberosity is an example of a bony landmark. What's the function of a tuberosity for 2 marks? So it's a raised bump to provide a site for attachment, okay, which is literally what we've just written in the notes beforehand. Here's another one, slightly different version. Bony landmarks are features of a bone. This figure, identify 3 bony landmarks from the description in table 1. An example has been given, so it's told you that a tuberosity is a projection of bone to provide a site for muscle attachment. It's given you 2 other descriptions and it wants you to say which bony landmark of the other 5 is it. A shallow dip in the bone and a round prominence or projection at the end of the bone. Here's the mark scheme. So number 1 is obviously a fossa and number 2 is a large round projection, which is a condyle, like your ball and socket joint. So we've gone through the 6 bony landmarks that you need to learn and the way you're going to learn them through that shoulder or that ball and socket joint, that shoulder joint.